Does the idea of using a shotgun alongside a minigun seem a bit redundant to you? Do you wish to be able to heal yourself and/or your teammates but refuse to play medic? Are you the sort of person that has their lunch on hand at all times at work, even if their job is literally walking around in a war zone with a minigun? If you said yes to any of the following, sit back and relax, for I am Ian, and this is my TF2 How to Kill Streak series, where we look at the best and worst TF2 has to offer and I show you how to get a kill streak with it, because everything is a bad idea until it works. Today, as you could tell by reading the title of this video, we'll be covering the heavy lunchbox items. So without further ado, let's get into it. We will start with the Sandvitch for many reasons. Firstly, it's iconic, having about as many memes about it as any of the classes do individually. Heck, it even has its own Meet the video. Secondly, it has its own achievement for eating 100 of them, though technically eating the other lunchbox items count towards this, but we'll ignore that detail for now. Third, it can be acquired from the Heavy Milestone 1 achievement, meaning most players will acquire this thing before the other lunchbox items. All this and more means that players will generally be using this as the benchmark to compare to when deciding what secondary to use as heavy. As for what this thing actually does, you sacrifice having a shotgun in favor of having a sandwich that heals 300 HP, or can be dropped and given to other players to heal them. The healing other players receive from this item is equivalent to a medium health pack. If no one picks up the sandwich you threw to them, then you can pick it up again and recharge it instantly instead of having to wait 30 seconds for it to recharge. However, if someone did pick up your sandwich to heal, or if you used it on yourself, it can actually be recharged instantaneously by picking up a health pack when at full health. This means that the most optimal play is to actually have the heavy heal your medic with the sandwich, then have the medic heal the heavy to full, then have the heavy pick up the small health pack so that he can then heal someone else on the team for the equivalent of a medium health pack by throwing them the sandwich yet again.
That's fucking teamwork!
However, given the medkit stealing traditions of other players, the general lack of medics, and coordination in general in pubs means that what will actually happen is you're going to eat this thing to heal yourself most of the time, then pray to God no one actually shows up to backstab, headshot, or otherwise kill you to mixed results. This is because when you're eating a sandwich, you will actually be standing perfectly still, waiting for anyone to shoot at you, unable to move as you enjoy your snack. This is a feature shared amongst all the Heavy's lunchbox options, with the only difference being how long they take to recharge and the effects they instill when you consume them. The Sandvitch is probably the best of the lunchbox items at dealing with this issue, since you're healing for exactly your maximum health. This means even if you take a few stray bullets while eating, you'll still most likely be at full health when you're done. Just be sure to put your back up against a wall to ensure you don't get backstabbed, and that you're not in any sniper sightlines when you decide to eat the snack of choice you decided to equip today. Before we move on to the other lunchboxes, however, I'd like to at least mention the subclass known as the Hoovy. The Hoovy is a subclass in TF2 where the player in question will simply crouch and walk around slowly as Heavy, giving sandwiches to literally everyone, regardless of what team they are playing for. While I cannot deny the hilarity of this subclass, I cannot recommend it for those of you trying to go for a kill streak whatsoever. This is because it's basically impossible to get kills as Hoovy whatsoever due to the healing other players' nature of this playstyle. Still, if you want to hang out with the enemy team while they dominate your own, this is a viable playstyle, just not for going for kill streaks. Just remember that no matter how many good vibes you try to send to the enemy team, there's no guarantee they're going to reciprocate. With that covered, let's move on to the next item on our itinerary.
Put a banana in your ear.
A banana in my ear?
Put a ripe banana right into your favorite ear.
The second banana was added in the last major update of Jungle Inferno back in 2017, and can be acquired from the contracts that were added back then for free. Yes, the contracts are still available to everyone, even if your Steam account was made after Jungle Inferno. Everyone thought these things were going to go away at some point, but they haven't. Some players are hopeful that one day Valve will update this contract system to include weapons for all 9 classes, rather than just including the weapons that were added in Jungle Inferno, but most players are aware of how much of a pipe dream this truly is, given Valve's record with updating TF2 as of late. As for what the second banana actually does, it heals 200 HP rather than the 300 of the sandwich, but to compensate for this it recharges it faster, needing only 10 seconds to do so instead of 30. This is rather unsurprising since preparing raw fruit to be consumed is a lot faster than making a sandwich. Another major difference between this and the sandwich, however, is that it heals equivalent to a small health pack rather than a medium if you decide to throw this thing down to heal others. This means that if you're using your lunchbox to heal others rather than yourself, this is most likely the worst of the options you have at your disposal. If, however, you find yourself healing yourself with your lunchbox rather than others 90% of the time, which given the Heavy's large hitbox and low movement speed is not exactly uncommon, you'll find the second banana to be one of the best options the Heavy has for secondaries. This is because out of all the secondaries the Heavy has, this one reduces your reliance on teammates the most. After all, while the banana itself does heal less than the sandwich, it recharges so much faster that you can actually end up eating 2 bananas in the time it takes to recharge a single sandwich, meaning your overall heals is going to be higher. This means for heavies who are consistently taking damage and have no alternative means of healing save for the occasional health pack, this is unquestionably the best secondary you have at your disposal. However, if your team has a competent medic, a well-placed dispenser, or if you're just playing cart heavy unironically to great success, you'll find the next item on our grocery list far more useful than a banana. The Dalaokos Bar holds a special place in my heart, partly due to me inheriting my grandfather's chocolate addiction, but mostly because it was the first item drop I ever got in TF2 after creating my own Steam account when my older brother finally got his own computer and I no longer had access to a Steam account on the family laptop. The Dalaokos Bar is the best of the lunchbox items for those of you who want to be as tanky as humanly possible. This is because when you consume the Dalaokos Bar, your maximum HP goes up by 50 points temporarily. The downside to this is that you only recover 100 health whenever you eat this chocolate bar. Aside from that, however, it is indistinguishable from the second banana in terms of recharging and healing other players. This lunchbox in particular is actually the best when you want to play cart heavy, since the increase to your maximum health makes you far more tanky, which is invaluable since the health regeneration given to you by the cart basically means nothing since it's more of a prerequisite to not die under enemy fire as everyone in the enemy team shoots in your general direction. The increased tankiness this weapon provides also used to be a very useful tool for dealing with bots. This is because when using the Fists of Steel alongside the Dalaokos Bar, you would become near impossible for snipers to kill. However, this tactic became so prolific among the player base that the people who made the bots actually started having the bots switch to melee the moment someone got in range to deal with this situation. Thankfully, however, mere days after this became a prolific issue, Valve stepped in and finally updated TF2 to get rid of the bots for the most part. I mean, you'll still see a few every now and then, but you can play on casual servers and not have to deal with them 100% of the time. However, nowadays, the Dalaokos Bar is best used alongside the Gloves of Running Urgently, since the Dalaokos Bar is actually quite good at offsetting their biggest downside of reducing your maximum health temporarily. This is because if you use the Gloves of Running Urgently to run quickly to the front lines, then immediately use the Dalaokos Bar, while you're eating, your maximum health is going to slowly recover, whilst also being boosted by the Dalaokos Bar itself, meaning by the time you finish eating, your maximum health will actually be very close, if not completely returned to its base 300. This means if you have reliable means of healing on the front lines, but no reliable means of getting there in the first place from spawn, this is actually the best lunchbox of choice you can have. However, with the reduced healing you get from this thing directly, you will find yourself desperately in need of alternate forms of restoring your health whenever you use this thing. Meaning, while this thing can actually heal you, I don't recommend equipping it with the intent of healing yourself in mind. However, some of you might be complaining about how I haven't really gone over how to get a killstreak with any of these weapons yet. This is because the majority of the heavy lunchbox items are designed to heal you. As a result, there's really not much advice I can give on how to get kills with them directly since they're incapable of killing anyone. Heck, the only thing they can do to the enemy team is heal them, which is counterintuitive to what this guide is all about. However, for those of you not satisfied with that explanation, I have only one thing left to say to you. You're going to love the last lunchbox item we have yet to cover. The Buffalo Steak Sandwich is unique amongst the heavy secondaries since while it doesn't do any damage directly, it does help you get into the kill feed a lot more quickly. For those of you who don't already know, this thing works almost identically to the sandwich, healing others at the rate of a medium health pack and taking 30 seconds to recharge. The key difference between the steak sandwich and the regular sandwich, however, is what happens when you eat it yourself. According to this item's description, the only things that happen is you gain a speed boost and guaranteed mini crits at the expense of being restricted to melee only until the effects wear off. However, TF2 has a bad habit of not showing everything in the item's description, resulting in countless noobs perishing to its hidden downside: increased damage vulnerability whilst under the effects of the steak sandwich. That's right, while restricted to melee only in a game where everyone has a gun, you're gonna take extra damage for using this. As a result, you will pretty much never see this item being used outside of medieval mode. However, in medieval mode, this thing is kind of the meta weapon of choice for heavies playing there, since players drop health kits on death, meaning the other lunchbox's healing properties aren't as mandatory, and shotguns simply aren't an option in medieval mode in the first place. One might think that the warrior spirit would have some kind of synergy with this item, since they were released together as an item set. However, the damage vulnerabilities from these two weapons actually stack with each other, meaning your effective health goes from 300 to about 180-ish. Meaning when you use these two things together, your effective health is only slightly above a stock demo man. Because of this, you will pretty much never see anyone actually using the warrior spirit for the most part, and instead, when you see heavies playing medieval mode, they will usually be using the killer gloves of boxing. This is assuming, of course, the heavy in question is playing seriously in any capacity. However, the majority of individuals who use the buffalo steak sandwich aren't actively trying to win the game or even get a kill streak, but rather are just trying to meme. So if you see a heavy weapons guy dressed as a fairy princess trying to get melee kills with a frying pan, expect this to be the secondary of choice they have equipped. However, if you see someone using the buffalo steak sandwich trying to be serious about getting a kill streak with it, expect them to be using the killer gloves of boxing. This is because the KGB gives you guaranteed crits after every kill. This results in the KGB being the meta melee of choice for heavies playing medieval mode. After all, in a game mode where everyone is restricted to melee only, it's not exactly hard to get a melee kill there. Unless, of course, there's an overabundance of spies on the enemy team, in which case you're just completely screwed. You see, the problem is that spies can actually outrun you even when you're under the effects of the buffalo steak sandwich's speed buff, so even if you can find them, you're gonna need the element of surprise if you want to actually kill them. And let's be completely honest here, in medieval mode, heavy is far from the strongest class to pick in that game mode. Sure, the heavy weapons guy can be viable, but let's be honest here, between the Demo Knight's shield charging, the spy's backstabbing, and the huntsman being a thing, why would you pick the slow-moving fat Russian guy? All in all, I give the Lunchboxes a default out of 10. These are the weapons that everyone will assume you're going to be using whenever you play heavy, and I don't see that changing in the future whatsoever. For better or for worse, food has outclassed the shotguns for the heavy. As they say, make lunch, not war. That's all for now. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one, maybe consider offering a sandwich to Lord Gaben while we're at it because we all know notifications don't work, and comment what weapons you want me to cover in the future. I've been Ian, and this has been my TF2 How to Kill Streak Guide to the Heavy Lunchboxes, and stay tuned, the Thermal Thruster is coming up next.